Hello, what is up, guys? It is Keegan, and today I am bringing you guys the team builder for the Game Means Hero. If you guys are excited for this team builder, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. So, against Hero, very interesting matchup that's on screen now. He's got Meowscarada, Quackavole, Garchomp, very good defense. A very good physically attacking team specifically, which is going to put some stress on our physically defensive walls. So that's going to be a key attention point in this matchup is how do we handle all of that, offensive output on the physical side. Luckily, stuff like Iron Hands, Uxie, Vaporeon do a decent job of that, though stuff like Meowscarada and Quackaball can take advantage of those Pokemon depending on the set. Other Pokemon that are going to be really relevant, Alolan Muck is a part of that physical, defensive situation as well. Really important that we, have to switch into that well. It's really difficult to switch into that Pokemon for our team, so I have to be very careful and mindful of that Pokemon. We do have really good checks to it, like TAUROS, which we're actually bringing this week for the first time. And TAUROS does a really good job of breaking through my opponent's team, which we'll see when we get to the set. The primary Pokemon that I really need to get rid of in this matchup is Mesprit, and that's because we're bringing a Iron Defense Iron Hand set, which is actually very good into my opponent's team once that Mesprit is gone, specifically because of that abundance of physical attackers. Iron Hands does a really good job of taking advantage of that. So let's not waste any more time, and let's get into the build. So we have Dragapult here. This Dragapult set is pretty standard. 104 speed at Timid is going to outspeed Meowscarada, and the special attack does enough to guarantee the OHKO against Garchomp, max HP Garchomp specifically after Stealth Rocks, and get 2 KOs on Mesprit and the Klefki. The rest of it can just go into bulk because we don't really have any other particular use for it in this matchup, so that just allows us to have some extended life against something like Quackaball. One thing before I get to the next Pokemon that you'll notice is I am doing this on Showdown this week. I'm actually on vacation for 10 days coming up this week, so I'm going to be trying to get a lot of these videos done at once. So that is why it's on Showdown. We'll be back to Wi-Fi team builders in week number 8. But after going through that, let's get into the Volcarona. So Volcarona here, Morning Sun, Fiery Dance, Substitute, Will-O-Wisp. So Will-O-Wisp here, you'll see we have 188 speed. This hits 283 speed, and Salamence, that is looking to outspeed Dragapult creep at +1, is hitting 282 speed. So that is the speed creep we're specifically targeting in this matchup for Will-O-Wisp. And then the special defense plus HP allows me to basically every defensive Rotom Heap can't break my substitute. So let's say we weaken that Pokemon over time. It's never going to have leftovers because Heavy Duty Boots is such a common item on that Pokemon now. That allows us to set up a substitute and say the mid game, Fiery Dance, maybe get a few boosts off on it, and basically use it as setup fodder, honestly, with Fiery Dance, which is kind of insane to think that you can use that as setup fodder, especially with only 16 PP, but if you get it low enough, anything is possible. And this is also, another decent way to come in and check the Mesprit as well. We don't have Bug Buzz, but Fire Dance Will-O-Wisp, once again, obviously providing some of the essential pressure that we need against that Pokemon. These two Pokemon do a really good job of, pressuring that slot, and we want to make sure that Pokemon takes as much damage as possible to enable this set, which I alluded to on the outset. Is Iron Hands, Iron Defense, Body Press, Rest, Sleep Talk. The speed here is specifically for defensive Ursaring, a possibility with Dragapult, not a likelihood, but certainly something that we have the ability to prepare for with our EV spread. We also have some special defense here. The 204 defense is primarily only really required to kill the Rotom Heat at +4 Iron Defense through a burn. So that's what we're using here, and then the rest of it can go into Spidaf to, manage the special attackers. Once again, we have Rocky Helmet because this is also going to act as a primary check to the Meowscarada. Use the Rocky Helmet to whittle that Pokemon down over time, and because of the fact that we have Rest, it's able to kind of perform a double duty in this matchup. So a common defensive switch in, and then a Rest Sleep Talk a win condition once Mesprit is down. Next up here we have Uxie. This is a pretty standard rocker here. The only real interesting thing about this set, besides Rocky Helmet once again providing some extra cover against those defensive type Pokemon that our opponent has, is we have Encore at 184 speed Timid, And this is specifically so we can outspeed and Encore Nasty Plot Rotom on the switch in. Yeah, that's a Pokemon that can do a lot of damage in this matchup, and Encore on Uxie is something that is very easy to mitigate that. It doesn't really cost a lot to include this slot on our team. And then U-turn and Dazzling Gleam. Dazzling Gleam does a little bit of damage against stuff like the Quackavole, Meowscarada, and Garchomp. It actually hits super effectively against all three, which is really important. And U-turn, which is most likely going to be the click if it's an attack, just keeping up momentum as much as possible. And now here we have another Rocky Helmet special, Kaz in the lab. I mean, Kaz labbed up the Iron Hands. This is a really genius prep on his part, who's been, once again, one of the best builders I know, and has been a rock in terms of building and helping build my teams every week in the I wouldn't say front office, but in the chat that we have. Baton Pass, Endure, Charm, and Surf. So Charm does a good job of pressuring stuff like Meowscarada, Quackavole, and Garchomp, who could be switch-ins and could use this as setup fodder. So Charm prevents stuff like SD Garchomp. It prevents setup Quackavole from really going crazy on me. Endure is really interesting against stuff like Choice Band Quackavole. If he locks himself into, say, close combat as last move in certain situations, Endure is going to allow me to Rocky Helmet that down in the end game. And then Baton Pass and Surf just do a good job of cleaning up the rest of the moveset. Surf doing a little bit of damage in the mid game, but Baton Pass holding up momentum as much as possible. Final Pokemon here is the Tauros. So Tauros does a really interesting, a lot of interesting things in this matchup. So the speed specifically designed here to outspeed the Garchomp, and then it just does a boatload of damage against a lot of things here. Body Slam into Bulldoze kills Klefki if it's especially defensive, and if it's physically defensive, Fire Blast is actually a 2-hit KO against that Pokemon, which is pretty ridiculous. A lot of the times we'll probably be Body Slam into Fire Blast, which isn't the best scenario. And the reason we have Fire Blast specifically for that in that situation, in case it's Magnet Rise, we don't want it to be able to Magnet Rise and kind of get out of dodge and get out of get a jail free card that way. And then Rock Slide, once again, just another general coverage move where we're just going to be body slamming for the most part against the majority of his team, and bulldozing as well. So that is a team for the match against T-Row. Battle Up tomorrow. Hope to see you guys there. And as always, have a wonderful day.